Hey guys, what's going on? It's Boris with Texas Basketball Scouts, and I'm here with my good friend Keaton. And just wanted to take a minute to allow Keaton to kind of share his story and kind of his journey in the sports entertainment world and sports operations world. So, Keaton, I guess for starters, just kind of introduce yourself, and then we'll kind of talk, kind of a little bit about your origin story.
Sure. So I'm Keaton Davis, 24, from Louisville, Kentucky. So it's kind of basketball's king down there. A lot of basketball going on. I went to Eastern High School, which is actually the home of Rajon Rondo. He went there for 3 years and then shipped off to Oak Hill to finish his high school career. But after high school, went to the University of Cincinnati up the road. I finished in 3.5 years, so just a hair early. And from there, a bunch of different stops along the way, trying to ultimately work in basketball. And then most recently, this past NBA season, got on with the San Antonio Spurs. That job's kind of ended, so now I'm looking for the next gig in sports and basketball. And it was a fun season, a weird season with the Kawhi stuff going on, but it was really cool, man. Yeah.
Awesome. And I just really admire just how you are trying to get into, well, not trying, you've already gotten into the basketball business, and that's like a dream job for most people that most people would aspire to do. So it's awesome to see and know someone like yourself who's actually been involved with sports in the professional level and at the NBA level. So I guess kind of for starters, like growing up, did you play any sports or anything like that, or kind of just talk a little bit about like your history, I guess, playing sports or as an athlete, just kind of growing up.
Right. Yeah. So I played baseball and basketball. Those were the big two. I was actually a lot better at baseball. Basketball was not my forte. I guess, had a little growth spurt, so I was making teams because I was a little tall. But yeah, basketball was what I was a lot better at. Played it my first year in high school. Played baseball. That was kind of the plan, was to play baseball and then maybe try and, play in college or something. And then eventually I figured I'm not going pro. Let's kind of figure out a way to have a career in sports. So my parents own a restaurant in Louisville, so I started working. Figured let's make some money, let's get a car, let's start saving up so I can go do internships and work in sports if those opportunities are presented. Yeah, kind of in high school, I just figured let's quit and let's start on with the actual kind of workforce part of my life. And sports just was always what I loved, so I figured let's try and work in sports. And so I took a visit to the University of Cincinnati. They were the first school that sent me something in the mail. At the time, I guess maybe my junior year, I wanted to do architecture. So I went to the school, loved the campus. It was very urban, right in the downtown. And I guess my senior year, I had taken a physics class in high school, done very poorly. Was like, this is not for me. I had been nominated by a counselor to go to this kind of college prep program at Fordham University right before my senior year started of high school. And I was looking at the programs. They had like art and dance and biology and all that, and there was one called sports management. So at the time, hadn't heard of it, had no idea what it was. I started looking into it, doing a little research. I realized that the University of Cincinnati had a sport management program. And so I went to this camp in the Bronx, New York. I was 17, getting on the plane, figuring out where to go. And it was 10 days, meeting with Yankees people and Knicks people and all these basketball and pro sport executives. And it was life-changing, I guess. I remember coming home and was like, this is what I want to be. I want to work in basketball. I want to work in the NBA. I want to be a director of player personnel or a GM. And from going to that camp, I kind of figured out a little course of action of how to get there. And I went to Cincinnati, and it was a great couple years there. Since they don't have a pro team, my thought process was kind of, let's do the next best thing and work with one of the pro teams, since they have the Cincinnati Reds and Bengals. and got on with the Reds for a little bit, and then just started interning left and right to kind of try and build some kind of resume to hopefully one day work in basketball. And for the most part, yeah, it's kind of worked out. So I've been very, very fortunate. Yeah.
And that's awesome. You said a couple of key things. One was that, you mentioned early on you discovered that you weren't going to be a professional athlete playing. So you shifted your mindset as to, I'm still passionate about sports, but how can I still be involved with sports at a high level, even if I may not actually be the athlete playing? Mm-hmm. So that's good that you recognize that. And then also the fact that you found a college that offers a degree program in sports management. I mean, that's awesome. I'm sure there's, a lot of kids right now that didn't even know that kind of degree program even exists. So that's cool that you actually went, got that education, and got that experience meeting those pro teams and everything. Just out of curiosity, basketball, football, baseball, how many, let's move into your professional career, and what professional teams have you worked for, within any capacity so far in your career?
So I guess starting with the present and kind of going backwards, the Spurs were most recent. Right before the Spurs, I was with an agency called Baseline Sports as an intern. So that was mostly basketball athletes. And then before that, I was with the LA Dodgers and Chicago White Sox, working at their spring training facilities called Camelback Ranch in Phoenix, Arizona. And then that was kind of right when I graduated college, my first job out of college. And then before that, I was in NASCAR for a little bit, getting some credit hours for school. I was with the Reds the summer before that, so this was the summer of maybe 2014, I believe, when they had the All-Star game. So that was really cool to work with MLB executives because the All-Star game was being held in Cincinnati. And then before Cincinnati, I was with a D3 football team right in the heart of Cincinnati called Mount St. Joseph's. I was working with their recruiting department, recruiting players, but they were quote unquote a D3 powerhouse. So it was very much being at a kind of big time school, trying to bring in good players and all that. So a lot of different stops along the way. Definitely an unorthodox kind of path, but fortunate to have kind of worked for pro teams and college teams. So yeah, I've been fortunate.
Definitely. I mean, that's quite the resume already, man. I mean, to have, all that experience with all those different sports and all those different levels, and just to be around all that, professional sports, man, that's awesome. So congrats so far. And and I know it's just very early in your career, but congratulations anyways. So I guess now kind of on a side note, you've gone to things like the NBA summer leagues, like in Vegas and all that. So for all the basketball heads out there like myself, what was that experience like? I mean, talk to us a little bit about the Vegas experience during the summer, with the NBA summer leagues, and just kind of what's going on and kind of what you experienced. And
yeah, so my first time going to summer league was not this past summer, but the summer before. At the time, hadn't worked in the NBA yet, hadn't really worked in basketball yet, and kind of the thing they hit on in college is networking, right? So I figured let's get a plane ticket and a hotel. I stayed at this little Airbnb for $30 a night. It was terrible, but it was right across the arena there at UNLV, and I just went with the stack of resumes every single day they had it pretty much. Walked up, tried to find the courage to walk up to all your Pat Rileys and Danny Ainges, and it was intimidating to say the least, because you're sitting in the stands right next to guys that are making a lot of money and are on TV and on ESPN and all that. So it was a crazy first year. I had no idea what to expect, and it was an animal, that's for sure. And then the second time I went this past July, I felt a lot more organized. I had kind of lined up teams and people I was going to meet with. So I felt like I got a lot more accomplished. I could, instead of just walk around the arena, kind of like a lost dog looking for people to talk to. I knew exactly who I was talking to, so I felt like this past summer it was a lot more beneficial. Plus, since they added more teams, I believe all 30 teams were there this past year, so it kind of doubled your chances to run into people and meet people. Previously they had the Orlando Summer League, and then they canceled that, so now all 30 were in Vegas for the first time this past July, and it was it's all your hardcore basketball fans. It's not the prettiest basketball, so the people in the stands are just absolute maniacs for their team, and want to see the rookies and undrafted guys do well and kind of get that first taste of them. So it was cool. It was summer league is crazy. There's a lot going on, a lot of people to meet, and it's if you're a basketball fan, it's the place to be. Sure.
Nice. I think one of these summers, man, I would personally like to go out there and try to go. Now, is this something like, can you just like buy tickets on NBA and go watch the summer league games, or I mean, do you have to have like do something special to go out there? Right. Or
no, it is open to the public. There's, I think, courtside is reserved, but other than that, I mean, you can get as close as you can. There's usually, especially with like Laker games and Celtics games, there will be a line into the parking lot just to get in for this summer league game with like 2 guys maybe that'll make the team. The rest will be off in like Europe or something. So it's open to the public. This past year, I think they were like $30 a ticket. It gets you all day, so you can pretty much go in to the first game at like 10 a.m. and stay the entire day, watch every game. They have 2 gyms too, so the women's gym is connected to the men's gym, so there's pretty much 2 games going on at all times, and you can get your fix really during the summer when there's no basketball on TV.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, that'd be a cool experience. I've never been to Vegas. I haven't been to Vegas yet, and I'm not really interested in going to Vegas for the casinos and all the gambling, but I would definitely go there for the basketball.
That's cool, man.
Great. Well, thanks for just sharing your story, man. I'm really excited to see, the next team that you're going to be working for, and just to kind of see how your career progresses within the sports industry. But I guess kind of in closing, what's next for you? What are your next steps? What are you going to try to do? And, what's your plan going forward?
Sure. So kind of hitting on what I wanted to be earlier, kind of director of player personnel is the goal, or GM is the goal, kind of a higher up exec that's trading players and dealing with the contracts and the money and all that. That's what I am super interested in. That's what I love. The negotiation aspect of it all is just super intriguing too. So to get there, kind of the department called basketball operations is step 1. So that's kind of what I'm trying to get into right now is basketball operations, some kind of team, whether it's the G League, because a lot of the G League teams are having basketball ops departments now, whereas 5-6 years ago they were a lot smaller staff. Since they are a G League team and don't have nearly as many resources, but just about every team has their own G League. Every NBA team has their own G League team now. That ratio is close to 1 to 1. Basketball ops and some form or facet, is what I'm trying to get into, whether an internship or like assistant position. And then, from there, kind of once you're in. That's kind of the business of basketball. It's very tight-knit. It's a very kind of brotherhood kind of deal. Once you're in, you kind of, have all these people, all these GMs, all these executives kind of at your, on your phone or something like that. So it's tough to get into. It's especially when you're like me, you're not a former player. Your dad's not Steve Kerr, you weren't like a team manager in college. I never got picked for that. It's tough to get into. I kind of started as far behind the 8 ball as you can. A lot of good days and bad days trying to get in, but I think if you have a dream, you have your goals, you got to be able to drop everything and go after it, make sacrifices and go after it. So I've tried to do that as best I can. Even though every kind of stop for me hasn't been basketball, every stop I've learned a ton and made some really good connections, really good people, and yeah, ultimately, just it's kind of a connections business. Once you meet the right person that can kind of vouch for you or put in a good word, then you're kind of golden. Once you can kind of get that connection that helps you get the foot in the door, because these days there's so many kids like me that are sports management that have kind of done a little internship. When I apply for these jobs, there's 1,000 others. So it's just kind of separating yourself in some form, going to things like summer league to meet those right people, and just kind of believing in your skills, believing in your knowledge, and not letting any no or any bad email or anything like that says you're not good enough kind of deter you. So it's just kind of sticking to the path and believing the good Lord has a plan for you.
Absolutely. And one thing that I like about you is that, excuse me, you're not afraid to work.
Yeah.
So with your work ethic and your professionalism and just your personality, I have no doubts that you're going to be successful and be able to achieve your goals in due time. So thanks for taking some time to introduce yourself to the people, and I want to wish you, best of luck in the future and much success in your career.
Absolutely.
So keep it up.
Appreciate it.